It is 12:13. Everyone's quiet. I don't want to jinx anything though.
Only one question. We'll be done in 5 minutes. Get your questions in.
I think that's just here for the Brent show, and
yeah, everyone's like, no Brent, no show. I don't want these other guys answering questions. They're dumb.
Who are they?
Nobody's. Get them out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, look, they had to pay just to even get in their own session.
Yeah, right. Like, you don't even wear 20 shirts. What can I know about SQL?
I thought it was funny that Brent says that his client is shocked that one of the people at the client he's at this week is shocked that he's not wearing a T-shirt, and he's like, "Well, I can't really with you guys. You dress up a little bit more than those people."
Yeah, right.
Shirts don't fly here.
All right. It is close enough to 15 past. There's a question about Tara's hair. Not quite technical. I would have the same question. Tara, did we change our hair color?
Yeah, 4 weeks ago I had some highlights added in so that we could start doing the darker color and add red in, but it went a lot too red and went back to add some more brown in. So anyways, this is it washed out basically, and I have an appointment later today to get the color added back in. So next week you'll see more color. No one asked me
about the fact that I shaved my beard. Everyone notices Tara.
You totally should have said, the fires around here.
Yeah.
Really adding my hair.
Well, I don't have. There are no fires in San Diego right now. Knock on wood. We are good. The closest one is Woolsey, which is the Malibu area. Man, I know that a lot of people have lost their homes, but I was reading about how many celebrities have lost their homes. Neil Young, it's his second home he's lost it due to fires. I don't remember when his last one was, but it was years ago.
Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, exactly. Miley Cyrus, Jillian Michaels. I mean, I was just like, wow. I mean, of course, it's Malibu area.
Yeah.
So who else is affording that area?
Mm.
Nice hiking up there. It's 85% of the area is gone for the Santa Monica Mountains.
Jeez.
Crazy.
It's so weird for a state that's like directly next to an ocean.
And especially Malibu. It is right on the water.
Yeah. Why is everything burning? Just get someone down there with a pump.
I've got some friends who they don't have any power yesterday or today because the electric company has turned off certain areas in case there's because the sparks from transformers can light up the areas, and being in a drought area and the wind just spreads quickly. My power's not impacted.
Obviously.
Yeah, here I am.
Bright, shiny, going to get your hair done.
You have the kids running in a hamster wheel.
Right.
All right. We should take an actual question before Brent gets mad. Have you used Docker in SQL Server at all? What do you think about using it for dev instances? Short answer is absolutely no. I have not touched it.
Can barely spell it.
Yeah.
I know they sell it at like Kohl's and all those types of places.
Yeah. You get pleated ones, cut ones, all sorts of things.
Brent's probably wearing some right now.
He might be.
With a nice shirt. Yeah, with a nice weaved belt, something like that.
Weaved belt.
We get this question, oddly enough, pretty frequently. We don't really do a ton with Docker or anything like that. The closest we get is Lambda, which is automatic, does all that stuff for us.
Yep.
My opinion is I don't know what it buys you in production, unless you're really churning out a lot of servers all the time for different clients or whatnot. Maybe that might make sense in your environment. But for dev, maybe. But remember, we're just talking about the install. Now you've got the data on top of that, which will change probably a lot more frequently than how frequently that you create a dev server. It's just easy. It's more overhead a little bit. So try it out, see if it works for you guys.
Like it would almost make sense for us where we use a pretty static copy of Stack Overflow over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm creating a new SQL server and have to remember the settings, and like the desired state with SQL Server is a crap show. Nothing about it seems appealing to me. Anyway, next question. There's one from Colin. Do you happen to know when the past Summit recorded sessions will be posted? I'm not wearing a past shirt. I do not know. Please ask someone from past. I wish they don't tell us mere mortals these things. Joshua asks, do you foresee in-place upgrades becoming more common and acceptable for production systems given the shortened release cadence? Tara, take it away.
I mean, absolutely not for me. In-place upgrades are for a test environment, but production, I mean, I've supported some very critical systems, and I will not take that risk of doing an in-place upgrade. I mean, just it is not happening for critical production systems.
Yeah, not for me either. You know, especially because with each new version now, they're making bigger and bigger changes to more and more critical parts of the system. Like if you look at the stuff that's coming down the pipe, or they came down the pipe for 2016, and then for 2017 with adaptive joins and the more batch mode stuff, and then 2019 where you get batch mode for row store, and you're getting all the stuff with UDF inlining. If anything goes terribly, horribly wrong, there is no back button that says, no, I want it the way it was before. You are stuck if you just do an in-place upgrade. And if you are stuck with unhappy users and customers, you are most likely stuck, you know, on monster.com for a while trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, and just think about your maintenance window that you would need for a rollback if something goes wrong there. I mean, I don't have that kind of downtime in maintenance windows. I'm usually very, very small maintenance windows. Yeah. In-place upgrade not happening because of rollback reasons.
No, and everyone says, oh, it'll be so easy. We have a VM. We'll just flip it back, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. If anyone touched any data, like, you know, right up leading up to that, good luck to you. No thanks. Not the kind of risk I'm willing to take with production SQL servers.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when you take a look at risk, I'm putting my project manager hat back on, is that you need to actually write them out, right? And say, hey, this could happen, and what's the probability that can happen? Is it high, is it medium, is it low? And then how much you're willing to swallow when you go to your management and say, hey, if this, you know, which is a medium, you know, risk happens and we're down for 5 days, are you okay with that? If they are, make them sign, you know, the risk assessment, and then you go off and do what you need to do. So I find that once they see it on paper, they're like, oh, really? That's a high risk. I'm not comfortable with that. Well, like, yeah, well, you know what? Neither am I. You know, so let's.
You don't mind if we don't make money for a week, right? That's cool. Okay, yeah, we can just do this then.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. There's one from Marcy now. She's using SRM for VMware, so it's a Site Recovery Manager. She wants to know if that makes using availability groups for disaster recovery redundant. How is that a different strategy from using? I'm going to guess async AGs for DR. If anyone wants that, they can have it. If not, I'll.
I mean, at my last company, we used availability groups, synchronous and asynchronous for HA and DR, and we also had, you know, we were also virtualized, but on the systems where we didn't need the really low RPO, we did use SRM. What is that? I don't even know. SRM, but that was like for an SSIS server, and we were okay with, you know, any kind of, there wouldn't be data loss, you know, in between. I see availability groups as availability groups, database mirroring, failover cluster instances as lowering your RPO at the Windows SQL Server level. Because what happens when SQL Server crashes or Windows crashes? You know, downtime is longer for those, and I don't know. SRM I certainly use, but it was not for my critical systems that had low RPO and low RTO.
Yep, it was always for like what I dealt with a lot working with Relativity which, you know, has like, it's not just like you have some SQL servers, you have these like you have this sort of army of VMs that all do different units of work. Like some will index different things. I don't mean like create SQL indexes, they like index files, some will hold files. Like workers do all sorts of crazy different things within the Relativity environment. So you end up with like, you know, 200 to 500 VMs, like tiny VMs, not like big ones that just do little things. And SRM was great for those because there was no like in-flight data on them. They were just doing a task when they got called upon. SRM was awesome for that. For SQL servers, I'm a little like, you know, if you have short like RPO and RTO windows for SQL servers, and I don't think SRM is the solution for you. If it's for dev stuff or it's for things that are not critical, where you have like, I don't know, 24-hour RPO or 8-hour RPO, then that might make more sense, because I just don't think you're going to be doing the snapshots, and I don't think you're going to be replicating data at a pace that's fast enough to meet a short RPO window with it. All right, next question. I don't understand this one, but I'm going to try to make sense of it. Joe has a job that's set to change fill factor for row versioning, where most fill factors are between 75 and 90 on the same table. What are your thoughts? No. No is my thought.
I don't know. No I mean, how are they picking what number they want to use per index? Wow, that's a lot of testing you would have had to have done.
Yeah, it's a lot of careful thought, consideration, and testing, and not at all just picking numbers at random, I would say. If you could clarify that a little bit and maybe, sneak in why they're different for certain indexes, that might be helpful too. Anyway, Jeremy asks, what do you recommend the minimum amount of CPU and RAM when standing up a new VM running SQL?
All of it.
Is it on your laptop?
All of it.
What's it for? It kind of depends on what if I'm paying for the licenses, then I want to use the minimum licenses that I paid for, CPU-wise. As far as memory goes, well, as much as I can possibly take.
As much as the Windows team will give me.
Yeah,
he has a production DBA who does not set up the hardware or Windows. I want as much CPU and as much RAM as you'll give me, and I want more than that, actually. It depends on your system, what your system requires. Maybe 8. I don't think I'd go any lower than, say, 64 gigabytes of RAM. But what happens if you have a 1 gigabyte database? It doesn't need that much.
No. So there are a lot of like I would call them local variables that might change the answer there. But for me, I just want to make sure that I have enough hardware to meet the needs of the application. So it's an application by application thing. If it's a thing no one cares about, and 2 cores, 8 gigs of RAM, if it's a thing that everyone cares about, well, we're gonna have to have a bigger talk than that. Someone's gonna have to get the credit card out.
And those needs are going to change.
Yep.
And they most likely will change.
No, data grows, user counts grow, everything tends to get bigger, and no one out there is archiving. So it's always just bigger and bigger. Let's go here. Adam has a question about SQL Server 2012 Enterprise. He has a cursor-based application. All right. And sometimes he runs into a problem when he's doing stats maintenance, where the cursor cannot complete because because the schema changed after the cursor was declared. No, I haven't run into that, but I don't use a terribly large amount of cursors, so sorry about that.
I suspect that the app using cursors is completely irrelevant to what Ola's stuff is doing. I just think maybe you've got a concurrent job running that has change things, and I don't know. I don't think that the application has anything to do with the error that they're encountering. I think that check for other jobs, see what else is running at that time.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Sounds good to me. All right. Let's see here. Augusto says, Augusto, email the help account about that. I'm not going to email you after this. You email the help account, and we're happy to. It's like send a picture of the piece of paper you had with the thing on there. That's where we deal with that stuff. Let's see. Samuel asks, how do I stop these DBAs? Oh, you peopled us.
We're terrible.
Using regular tables as temp tables, scripting out drops and adds. This feels wrong. I believe they are afraid of TempDB bottlenecks. I don't know.
Are you sure that they're DBAs? I think they're using that term loosely.
Yeah. I'm curious about that. I guess for me it depends a bit on what they're using those tables for. It's a kind of wide open. It's just like, okay, well, they're using it. It's a staging table, and they need to import some data, and maybe they want to keep that data around for longer than just the session they're in. If you could do something like, you could make them, if they're going to do that, either use their own schema, so that you know that they're in a separate place, or like prefix the table names with something to let you know that it's not like a real table. And you could just have a job that cycles through, like, say, once a month or once a week and looks for tables that haven't been touched in some period of time and just drops them out.
Yeah, I guess the regular tables and temp tables, it depends on what you're doing, right? So if I'm loading like a large amount of data, I'm probably not going to do that in temp tables. And I'm processing that, probably going to create my own regular table and go off and do that. Depends what we're doing.
It all gets weird. TempDB is a strange place. Usually DBs aren't afraid of it, though. Let's see. Ronnie asks, I'm suddenly encountering long-running SQL agent jobs that are executing for several hours overnight. Can you recommend a starting point for me to isolate the issue other than SQL agent logs? Not all jobs are affected. Do you have a monitoring tool, Ronald? I feel bad calling a adult Ronnie. We call you Ronald.
I would probably just log current activity to a table using SP who is active and then see what was going on and maybe log it every 15 to 30 seconds just for this time window, although I normally log 30 to 60 seconds in production always. But just get some monitoring in place, and if you don't have monitoring, SP who is active is a good place to start. And then, we also have Blitz Who that can do it too. I just like the additional detail who is active has.
Yep, that's a good place to start. Yeah, it's agent jobs are tough because if it's a maintenance task like a DBCC CheckDB or index and stat stuff, then there's not really a whole heck of a lot you can do about it. So start there. It might be something that you're not expecting too. It might be like blocking. It might be something that is not necessarily that the job is performing poorly. It's just that the job is held up waiting on something else.
Yeah, and check what the wait stats are during that time window. Are you now waiting on memory, disk, see what's going on.
All that jazz. All right. We have one last question here. It's a follow-up. Joe says they have this job to adjust fill factor to account for additional bytes for RCSI. They swear...
What?
What are you doing?
Who are these rocket scientists?
Right?
These are like crazy.
So
I've been using RCSI for years. I'm talking, not quite 10 years, but 9 years, and I have never, ever done that.
I've never even heard of that. That's amazing.
There is additional overhead for RCSI. I forget what it is. It's really small, though, like, I don't know, 4 bytes or something. But I'm not changing fill factor, but this is crazy. Oh man.
No. Well, you know what? I would set fill factor back to 100% for a week and be like, if you can find me a change, if you can show me on the application where things got worse, then we can go back to your way. But until then, we're gonna stick with this. That's a whole lot of like we're gonna fix everything but what the actual problem is. No, we have to keep doing. We're very bad if we don't do it.
Oh my God, we have some page splits.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, what year are we in?
Everything but the problem. All right, one last one. Marcy has another one. If you have time for this, I'm wondering what to do check for when DBCC CheckDB runs for longer than normal. Corruption. That's what I would check for. Let's see. Disk IO. Yeah. In the error log, I would look for 15-second IO warnings or messages about saturation or flush cache, and just because usually when that starts taking a long time, it's usually a sign that CheckDB, reading all that stuff from disk, is not having a good time of it.
And check with your SAN admins if this is a SAN, because maybe they could see another server running something big, and it was just the timing.
Yeah, because most DBAs, when they set everything up, even though they're hitting a SAN, all the backup jobs are at the same time, all the CheckDB jobs are at the same time. Everything is very regimented.
Yeah, we used to have a folder of install scripts, create the CheckDB, and we would just run them, and then we wouldn't go back and change the job schedule. It was just a template that we would use, basically, and we had 700 servers back at that company, so you can imagine how many CheckDB.
Tara was consumed by the flames.
I guess.
All right. That's it. At least, you know what? At least Fro is smiling. That's nice. I'm going to take a picture of that for her.
Jobs we had all launching at the same time.
Oh, she's back.
In my back.
No.
See, I need to call our internet company.
Yeah.
It lasted like 30 seconds, so it's not just WebEx, because I could hear you guys still.
Oh, wild.
Oh,
All right. Cool.
yeah, look at that.
Ain't that something? All right. Well, that's all the questions we have this week, folks. We should get out of here before Tara's internet apocalypse continues. before it infects all of us. All right. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next week for another wonderful edition of Office Hours. Goodbye.